Something happened to you. Maybe it was years ago. Maybe it still feels like yesterday. Maybe it was one moment that changed everything. Or maybe it was 1,000 small moments that slowly broke something inside you. And you've been trying to move on, trying to heal, trying to just be normal again. But no matter what you do, the anxiety comes back. The memories come back. The feeling that something is permanently broken inside you comes back. And maybe, deep down, you started to wonder if you'll ever actually heal, or if this is just who you are now. I want to tell you something today, and I need you to really hear it. Your brain is not broken. It adapted. It changed itself to protect you. And the same ability that allowed it to change after trauma, neuroplasticity, is the exact same ability that will allow it to change again. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what trauma does to your brain, what neuroscience has discovered about it, and most importantly, the specific, science-backed methods that have been proven to rewire the traumatized brain back toward healing. This isn't motivation. This isn't just think positive. This is neuroscience. This is what the research actually says. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to share the single most powerful thing you can do starting today. Not tomorrow, today. Let's get into it. Before we talk about healing, we need to understand what we're healing from. Because most people think trauma is just a memory, a bad experience stored somewhere in the back of your mind. But neuroscience tells us something completely different. Trauma is a physical change in your brain. When something traumatic happens, your brain doesn't process it the way it processes normal memories. Normal memories get stored, labeled, organized, and filed away. You can access them, think about them, and they stay in the past where they belong. Traumatic memories are different. They get stored incomplete, fragmented, without proper context or time stamping. This is why a trauma memory doesn't feel like something that happened. It feels like something that is happening right now. And here's the neuroscience behind why. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system. Deep inside your brain sits a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Its one job is to detect threat and trigger your survival response: fight, flight, or freeze. In a traumatized brain, the amygdala becomes hypersensitive. It stays on high alert, constantly scanning for danger, even when there is none. A loud noise, a certain smell, a tone of voice, the amygdala fires the alarm. Stress hormones flood your body. Your heart races. You feel the fear even though you're completely safe. This is called a trauma trigger. And it's not a choice. It's your amygdala doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect you from danger it perceived once before. The prefrontal cortex, your rational brain. At the same time, trauma shrinks the activity of your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, emotional regulation, and decision-making. This is why, in a triggered moment, you can't just calm down or think rationally. Your prefrontal cortex has been taken offline by your amygdala. Logic doesn't work because the logical part of your brain is temporarily shut down. The hippocampus, your memory center. Trauma also physically shrinks the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for organizing memories and distinguishing past from present. A 2002 study published in the journal Biological Psychiatry found that people with PTSD had a significantly smaller hippocampus volume than people without trauma. This is why traumatic memories feel so vivid, so present, so now. The brain literally struggles to place them in the past. So to summarize what trauma does to your brain, your alarm system gets stuck on. Your rational brain gets turned down. Your memory center gets smaller. That is what you are healing from. Not weakness, not being too sensitive. A measurable physical change in your brain. And here is the most important thing neuroscience has discovered in the last 30 years. Every single one of these changes can be reversed. The word you need to know is neuroplasticity. For most of the 20th century, scientists believed the adult brain was fixed, hardwired, that after a certain age, what you had was what you got. Then, in the 1990s, everything changed. Researchers discovered that the brain is not fixed at all. It is constantly changing, rewiring, building new connections, and pruning old ones based on your experiences, your thoughts, your behaviors, and your environment. Neurons that fire together wire together. This famous principle, coined by neuropsychologist Donald Hebb, means that every time you have a thought, feel an emotion, or perform a behavior, you are physically strengthening the neural pathways connected to it. This works in both directions. The repeated experience of trauma strengthened the pathways of fear, hypervigilance, and stress response. But repeated experiences of safety, connection, mindfulness, and specific therapeutic practices can strengthen new pathways. Pathways of calm, pathways of trust, pathways of being present. A groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School found that regular mindfulness meditation, just 8 weeks, physically increased the gray matter density in the hippocampus, the same region trauma had shrunk. Let me say that again. 8 weeks of the right practice literally grew back the part of the brain trauma had damaged. This is what neuroplasticity means for you. Your brain changed once. It can change again. The question is, what specific practices actually drive that change? That is exactly what we're going to cover now. Method number 1 is called Somatic experiencing, developed by Dr. Peter Levine, a medical biophysicist and psychologist who spent over 45 years studying trauma and the body's response to it. Here's the core insight behind it. Trauma isn't just stored in your mind. Trauma is stored in your body. Dr. Levine noticed something fascinating when studying animals in the wild. Animals face life-threatening situations constantly, being chased by predators, nearly drowning, surviving attacks. But animals almost never develop long-term trauma. Why? Because after a threatening event, animals physically discharge the survival energy from their bodies. They shake, they tremble, they physically release the stored stress response. Humans, because of our higher cognitive functioning, we suppress this. We tell ourselves to hold it together. We intellectualize. We push the physical response down. And that energy gets trapped in the body, stored as tension, chronic pain, hypervigilance, disconnection. Somatic experiencing works by gently helping the body complete and release this trapped survival energy. Simple somatic practice you can try today. Step 1, sit comfortably. Place both feet flat on the floor. Step 2, notice 5 things you can physically feel right now. The weight of your body in the chair, the temperature of the air, your breath moving in and out. Step 3, place one hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Step 4, say out loud or in your mind, I am here. I am safe. This moment is real. Step 5, if you feel any trembling or emotion rise, let it. Don't suppress it. That is your nervous system releasing stored energy. This practice, done consistently, begins to signal to your amygdala that the threat has passed, that you are safe now, and slowly the alarm system begins to quiet. Method number 2 is one of the most extensively researched trauma treatments in the world. It's called EMDR, Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. It was developed by Dr. Francine Shapiro in 1987, and today it's endorsed by the World Health Organization, the American Psychiatric Association, and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs as one of the most effective treatments for PTSD. Here's how it works, and why it works. During EMDR, a trained therapist guides you to recall a traumatic memory while simultaneously engaging in bilateral stimulation, typically following the therapist's finger back and forth with your eyes, or alternating taps on each knee. This sounds strange, but the neuroscience behind it is remarkable. Bilateral stimulation, alternating left-right sensory input, activates both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. This mimics what happens during REM sleep, when your brain naturally processes and consolidates emotional memories. By recalling the trauma while both brain hemispheres are engaged, the memory gets reprocessed. It gets properly time-stamped. It gets filed as the past, not the present. The emotional charge attached to it reduces dramatically. A 2014 meta-analysis of 26 randomized controlled trials found that EMDR was significantly more effective than control conditions in treating PTSD, with many patients showing complete remission of symptoms after just 6 to 12 sessions. 6 to 12 sessions for complete remission. What you can do. EMDR requires a trained therapist. This is not a DIY method. But if you have access to mental health care, specifically ask for an EMDR trained therapist. Many now offer online sessions. Even if therapy isn't accessible right now, simply knowing this treatment exists and works is important. Because one of trauma's cruelest lies is that healing isn't possible. The research says otherwise. Method number 2 is one of the most extensively researched trauma treatments in the world. It's called EMDR, Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. It was developed by Dr. Francine Shapiro in 1987, and today it's endorsed by the World Health Organization, the American Psychiatric Association, and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs as one of the most effective treatments for PTSD. Here's how it works, and why it works. During EMDR, a trained therapist guides you to recall a traumatic memory while simultaneously engaging in bilateral stimulation, typically following the therapist's finger back and forth with your eyes or alternating taps on each knee. This sounds strange, but the neuroscience behind it is remarkable. Bilateral stimulation, alternating left-right sensory input, activates both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. This mimics what happens during REM sleep, when your brain naturally processes and consolidates emotional memories. By recalling the trauma while both brain hemispheres are engaged, the memory gets reprocessed. It gets properly time-stamped. It gets filed as the past, not the present. The emotional charge attached to it reduces dramatically. A 2014 meta-analysis of 26 randomized controlled trials found that EMDR was significantly more effective than control conditions in treating PTSD, with many patients showing complete remission of symptoms after just 6 to 12 sessions. 6 to 12 sessions for complete remission. What you can do. EMDR requires a trained therapist. This is not a DIY method. But if you have access to mental health care, specifically ask for an EMDR trained therapist. Many now offer online sessions. Even if therapy isn't accessible right now, simply knowing this treatment exists and works is important, because one of trauma's cruelest lies is that healing isn't possible. The research says otherwise. Method number 3 is the most accessible of everything I'm sharing today, and one of the most scientifically validated: mindfulness meditation. Now, before you click away, I'm not talking about sitting cross-legged humming for an hour. I'm talking about a specific, simple practice that neuroscience has proven physically changes the traumatized brain. Here's what the research shows. A landmark study from Massachusetts General Hospital, part of Harvard Medical School, found that 8 weeks of mindfulness-based stress reduction produced measurable increases in gray matter in the hippocampus, the memory center trauma had shrunk. It also reduced the size and reactivity of the amygdala, the alarm system that trauma had put into overdrive. 8 weeks. That's all it took to produce visible, measurable brain changes on an MRI scan. Here's why mindfulness works so specifically for trauma. Trauma pulls you out of the present. It floods you with past memories or future fears. Mindfulness, by definition, trains your brain to return to the present moment, to notice what is actually happening right now without judgment. Every time you catch your mind wandering to a traumatic memory and gently bring it back to the present, you are strengthening the prefrontal cortex, the rational brain trauma had weakened. You are literally doing a rep, building the mental muscle that trauma had atrophied. Simple 5-minute mindfulness practice for trauma. Step 1, set a timer for 5 minutes. Step 2, sit comfortably, close your eyes. Step 3, focus entirely on your breath, the sensation of air entering your nose, your chest rising, air leaving. Step 4, when a thought, memory, or emotion arises, notice it without engaging. Silently label it. thinking. Then return to the breath. Step 5. Repeat for 5 minutes. That's it. Do this every single day. Not when you feel like it. Every day. The research is clear. Consistency matters more than duration. 5 minutes every day beats 35 minutes once a week every time. Method number 4 is one that surprises people because it's so simple, and yet the neuroscience behind it is extraordinary. Journaling, specifically expressive writing about trauma. In the 1980s, psychologist James Pennebaker at the University of Texas ran a series of experiments that changed how we think about trauma and healing. He asked one group of participants to write about traumatic or emotionally difficult experiences for 15 to 20 minutes per day for 4 consecutive days. The other group wrote about neutral topics, their plans for the day, descriptions of their surroundings. The results were remarkable. Over the following months, the expressive writing group showed significantly better physical health, fewer doctor visits, improved immune function, reduced anxiety and depression, and better long-term psychological adjustment to their trauma. Why does writing work? Here's the neuroscience. When you write about a traumatic experience, you are forced to put it into language, to organize it, to give it a beginning, middle, and end. This process engages the prefrontal cortex and the left brain hemisphere, the language processing, organizing, rational parts. Remember, trauma memories are stored fragmented and incomplete. Writing forces your brain to create a coherent narrative, to make sense of what happened. And in making sense of it, the memory gets properly processed and filed. The emotional charge reduces, the hippocampus can place it in the past. You are literally rewriting the neural code of the memory. How to start today? Step 1, get a private journal. Physical pen and paper is more effective than typing, research shows. Step 2, set 20 minutes aside. No interruptions. Step 3, write freely about a difficult experience. Don't edit, don't filter, don't worry about grammar or structure. Step 4, write about what happened, how it made you feel, and what it means to you now. Step 5, close the journal. Do something grounding afterward. A walk, tea, music. Important note, this can bring up difficult emotions. That's normal. That's the processing happening. But if it feels overwhelming, please work with a therapist alongside this practice. Method number 5. And this one is the one I want you to really sit with. Because in a culture that celebrates independence and self-sufficiency, this might be the most important truth neuroscience has discovered about healing from trauma. You cannot fully heal alone. I want to say that again because it matters. You cannot fully heal alone. Dr. Stephen Porges, a neuroscientist at Indiana University, developed what's called polyvagal theory, and it fundamentally changed how we understand trauma and healing. Here's the key insight. Your nervous system is constantly reading signals from the environment to determine whether you are safe or in danger. And the most powerful signal of safety that your nervous system can receive is the presence of a safe, regulated, calm, other human being. This is called co-regulation, and it's not a psychological concept, it's a biological one. When you are in the presence of someone whose nervous system is calm, through their tone of voice, their facial expressions, their body language, your nervous system begins to synchronize with theirs, to calm down, to come out of survival mode. This is why a hug from the right person can stop a panic attack. Why talking to someone who truly listens can make you feel safer in your own body within minutes. Why isolation makes trauma dramatically worse. Your nervous system learned fear in relationship, with other people or because of the absence of people who should have protected you. And it heals in relationship too. What this means practically? It means seeking out safe people. Not people who minimize your pain. Not people who tell you to just get over it. Safe people who can sit with you, listen without judgment, and whose own calm presence helps regulate your nervous system. It means considering group therapy or support groups, where the shared experience of others who understand creates a powerful collective healing environment. It means if you have a therapist, understanding that the relationship with the therapist is itself a healing tool, not just the techniques they use. Connection is not a luxury in trauma recovery. It is the medicine. Let me bring everything together. Your brain changed after trauma. Physically, measurably. The amygdala became hyperactive, keeping you on constant alert. The prefrontal cortex quieted, making it hard to think clearly or feel in control. The hippocampus shrank, making the past feel like the present. And none of it is your fault. But here is what neuroscience has proven beyond any doubt. Neuroplasticity means your brain can change again. Through somatic experiencing, learning to release trauma from the body. Through EMDR, reprocessing fragmented memories into the past where they belong. Through mindfulness, rebuilding the rational brain that trauma weakened. Through expressive writing, creating a coherent narrative that brings order to chaos. Through safe connection, letting other regulated nervous systems help heal yours. Healing from trauma is not about forgetting what happened. It is not about pretending it didn't matter. It is not about being strong enough to push through it. It is about giving your brain, your remarkable, resilient, neuroplastic brain, the right experiences, consistently, over time, so it can build new pathways. Pathways that lead away from survival and toward life. You have already survived the hardest part. Now, it's time to heal. If this video helped you, or if it made you think of someone who needs to hear this, please share it. You never know whose life a single video might reach at exactly the right moment. And if you're going through something difficult right now, please know there is no shame in reaching out to a mental health professional. Healing is not weakness. Asking for help is not weakness. It is the bravest thing a person can do. I'll see you in the next one.